Right, we're moving on to the next bit, the centre stage.
Okay, so the central section. This effectively is the 4-lane section. There's a lot of support, as Anne had said, around the Gardeners Breens intersection. This was approved by council in 2019. People find it difficult to cross there, so that's one of the design requirements of this project, is that intersection will be installed, and we could make some minor changes to it as part of this project. There were concerns with the 4-lane to 2-lane reduction. A lot of people opposed the lane reduction due to congestion, and they were concerned that removing a lane would make it unsafe for them to enter or exit properties by holding up traffic behind them, and particularly with the high speeds that they're observing along that section of road, which, as I said earlier, are kind of 4 to 5k higher than you'd expect. The Bishopdale roundabout, the traffic flow with the partial signalisation of the roundabout, and the removal of trees. Why did so many trees need to be removed? People find them iconic in the area. We also had feedback that the roundabout currently operates fine as it currently does. And then the Bishopdale Mall access is linked to the roundabout. People find it difficult to turn right out of Bishopdale Mall, and whether that could be included as part of the roundabout works. And then there's on-street parking removal, particularly around Copenhagen Bakery came through a lot, Charity Hospital, parking reductions outside people's residences. How would the lawn mowing person go there? Meals on Wheels. Would it lead to social isolation of the elderly? And then Bishopdale Park, loss of parking at Bishopdale Park, and how, again, does that handle during sporting events? So firstly, the concern around the 4-lane to 2-lane reduction. And if we consider between intersections, will Harewood Road still work with 1 lane in each direction? Look, the simple answer to that is yes. This graph here, what it shows is on the vertical axis, the degree of saturation or the capacity used of a lane. And then on the horizontal axis, it shows the time of day. So you can see along the bottom there, there's 8 o'clock, 12 being midday, and 1600 being 4 in the afternoon. And then the graph is coloured. So the green section of the graph runs up to about 70% of available capacity used. And if you're operating under that 70% line, you've got free-flowing conditions. There's plenty of spare capacity. As you approach the yellow area, so 75 to 85, it starts to get more congested on the road. And as you head up to the red, 85 plus, you become bumper to bumper, flows become difficult. On the right here, we have the solid blue line. That is Harewood Road in the 4-lane section as it's currently operating. And on the graph, we can see that sitting down the bottom here at 10%. So it's saying that 10% of the available capacity in that 4-lane section is currently being used. So there's more than enough spare capacity to remove a traffic lane. The dotted blue line, this one here, that's Harewood Road with this proposed cycleway scheme. So it's removed a traffic lane, it's provided the signals along Harewood Road, and it's included the other capacity improvements in the network. So the Northcote Sawyers Arms intersection's been improved. And what that shows is that the capacity used jumps up to 30%. So it's still well within that green zone. It's showing that, yes, there's going to be a little bit more congestion along it, but there's still plenty of spare capacity for that road to operate with one lane of traffic. But it has other benefits with removing a traffic lane. So the width of the road in front of you reduces from 2 lanes to 1 lane, and it appears narrower. And when the lane appears narrower, people drive slower. So the best analogy of that is if you think about being on the open road, following a vehicle, and you come to a passing lane. You come to the passing lane, people always speed up. Well, they're not doing it on purpose. It's because the road in front of them is wide. They see a lot of pavement, it feels safe to drive faster.
They do it on purpose.
Some people may do it on purpose. So it's a psychological effect. You feel safer, so you drive quicker because you feel safer. And when you get to the end of the passing lane, you slow down again. And it's the same theory for Harewood Road, the same reason for narrowing up traffic lanes, and the same theory that goes with the placement of edge marker posts on the side of the road. If you squeeze the posts up tighter, people feel like they're driving quicker, they slow down. So an effect of removing the traffic lane is people will drive more slowly. And if they slow down, the likelihood of them having a crash reduces. And if they do have a crash, because they're going at a slower speed, the injury and the severity of the injury is likely to be less. It also makes the crossing the road more accessible. So instead of crossing over 2 lanes of traffic to get to the central median, you're crossing over 1 lane of traffic. And it's easy to cross over 1 lane of traffic. So compared to other roads, in yellow is Wairaki Road. That's currently 2 lanes. It's carrying a similar volume of traffic as to what Harewood Road will be catering for with the cycleway on it. And that's how we are expecting it to operate if it became 2 lanes. Very similar to Wairaki Road by Greers Road. And then as a comparison, we've got Papanui Road and Northcote Road. Now those roads are catering for 27,000 vehicles on them at the moment, and they have 1 lane in each direction. And we know when you drive along those certain times of the day, they're really congested, and you are bumper to bumper, and it's difficult to get in and out of driveways. And we can see that as they're popping up into this yellow area here. So, Councillor Kerr, you asked earlier about other roads where the lane reduction had occurred, and the road is Key Street in Auckland, and that was catering for 22,000 vehicles on it, and that's been reduced from 4 lanes to 2. It's a slightly different scenario to this in that it's closer to the town centre, but it has reallocated the road space to active transport and improving the urban appeal of the area.
Just on that, so it still has, did it have optimal flow when it was 2 lanes in each direction?
I'm not aware of
Must
those
have
details.
looked like that.
Yeah.
Or pretty close to it. If it was it would be pretty close, just above that blue line, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Auckland
And
region,
still,
particularly that street.
And it still has optimal flow? Like people
We
just
can
get on there
find
and
that
flow
out.
along?
I mean, what street is it again?
Key.
Key.
That with a K or a Q?
Q.
Oh, Key Street. Right. I know Key Street. We'll just get something from the council. We could give your colleagues in the Auckland City Council. Oh, no, it's not. It's Auckland Transport, is it? Or AT? Is it? Auckland Transport. Yeah.
They deliberately conduce traffic to make people motion.
Yeah, and to encourage other routes for the traffic to go on. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they deliberately conduce traffic.
So the point of this graph here, looking at between intersections, you can reduce from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, and there's still going to be available capacity to cater for the volume of traffic on it. So how much will journey time along Harewood Road change? So towards the city, that's the graph in the bottom left corner there. on the vertical axis we have time and travel time in minutes, and then along the horizontal axis we have the peak periods of the day, so the morning, midday and evening. And then in grey we have no MCR, so how the road's operating at the moment. And in green would be with the MCR and the 4-lane to 2-lane reduction. So typically, as you're driving towards the city, it's going to be an increased travel time in the order of average travel time of 40 seconds. So that's the equivalent to driving that route from Johns Road all the way through to Papanui Road, 3k an hour slower. And then towards the city, the graph in the top right, towards Johns Road, so heading out of the city, the same graph, the increase in travel time, if you drove the full length from Papanui Road through to Johns Road, would be in the order of 70 seconds. And that's during the morning peak period. And so that's about a 4k average speed slower along that route. Now this assumes a worst case scenario. So that assumes that people are driving the full length of Harewood Road, and it doesn't consider the benefits to the side road. So we know at the Gardeners Breens intersection, people find it difficult to cross. We're putting signals in there which allow people to cross over that. It stops the traffic on Harewood Road. Waldridge Road, it's difficult for people to turn right out. We're putting signals in there. Again, it's a delay to Harewood Road traffic. The Greers intersection, the safety improvements, that's adding a delay to drivers of about 20 to 30 seconds. 20 to 40 seconds of additional delay at that intersection to improve the safety. So that's by adding in the right turn arrows. So while there's an increase in the time it's going to take people to drive the full length of Harewood Road, there are benefits to people on the side roads. And not just at the signals. So turning out of Laycroft Street, Cotswold, Crofton, what the signals do is they create gaps in the traffic. They create platoons of traffic. So instead of having a constant flow of vehicles, it creates a big gap. People can turn out of the side road and continue. And same for people crossing the road, entering and exiting their driveways. And that's on top of the reduction in overall speed of vehicles by that. That's currently 5k too high. So the main delays are at the intersections. So the reduction in traffic lane has very little effect on the flow and change in travel time. It's the intersections. And the intersections are designed with auxiliary turn lanes. So you have a dedicated left turn lane and a dedicated right turn lane. And that allows for protection of pedestrians and riders via red lights, be it partial protection with 6 seconds of red or full protection. Operation of the Bishopdale roundabout. A lot of comments back on this, and it is unique for Christchurch. It's been used a lot up north, it's been used a lot worldwide, which is the partial signalisation or full signalisation of a roundabout. Removal of trees, a lot of feedback. In the original proposal, we were removing 12 trees. And a review of the arborist assessment and an update of the arborist assessment has said they are comfortable that we can retain a majority of those trees, but potentially we'll need to remove 3 of them. And those 3 trees may need to be removed due to damage to their roots during construction of the auxiliary turn lanes in the roundabout. So we need to go and do some trenching next to them to see where the roots are and what the size are and whether they'd be damaged.
So there is a possibility that they all remain, but because of the works going on the ground, it may be 3 are removed.
That's correct,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
A lot of feedback on better options for the intersection and alternate layouts for the intersection. So we did consider having a crossroad at this location, which moved Farrington Ave through the mall car park. That's all owned by council, and realigning the intersection to create something like Greers Road. The efficiency of that intersection was less than what's shown in the consulted design. We also considered removing the central island and having Harewood Road straight through and creating a left-right stagger with signals. That was less efficient, particularly for the movement northbound and southbound, so the Farrington Ave, Highstead Ave route. So the partial signals, which stops the approach traffic on Harewood Road and stops the circulating traffic on the roundabout, but keeps Farrington Ave and Highstead on priority control, was the most efficient for traffic, and it also is the lowest cost to install, and it provides a big improvement in level of service for pedestrians crossing and for the riders coming through. In terms of the operation during peak periods, during the morning peak, Highstead Road becomes quite congested and it's difficult to get out of. The partial signals addresses that issue. And during the evening peak, Farrington Ave has the same issue of queuing up. So partial signalisation, it creates the gap in the traffic to allow people to come out of Farrington. As part of evaluating the roundabout, we looked at signalising the Bishopdale Court or Bishopdale Mall intersection. And that was primarily to address the right turnout concern that the public had. But it also allowed the cycleway to continue through the middle of the island and avoid crossing over the Caltex and subway driveways. Now, the modelling of that showed that the queues from the Bishopdale Court were leading back into the roundabout, which is similar to what's going to happen with the consulted design. However, drivers through the roundabout wouldn't be able to see the signals and wouldn't be expecting to see the queues. It also added complexity around exiting Bishopdale Court and providing footpaths and rat running through the private car park area. So to help understand how this intersection operates, we have produced a video using one of our modelling software packages. And this is showing the intersection operating during a midday peak period. And we've chosen the midday peak so you can see the riders coming through and the movement of the vehicles. At the information sessions, we have the same videos for the morning and evening peak periods and along the full route showing the operation of all the intersections. But essentially looking at the western end of Harewood Road, this traffic has a green light. When they have a green light, pedestrians and cyclists cross the circulating lane. And when it stops the traffic on Harewood Road, it gives the green light to traffic circulating in the circulating lane and allows the peds and cyclists to cross over here. And then the downstream side, so the exit of the roundabout here and over here, that operates on demand. So when there's a pedestrian or a rider there, that pushes the button. Parking impacts through the central section. Overall, we're removing around 50% of the car parks. So we expected there would be a lot of feedback around the businesses, particularly from Copenhagen, a lot of people concerned around how the business would operate with a reduction in parking. And then the residences. So the parking removal, primarily it's at intersections to improve sightlines, to improve it for pedestrians and riders. And like I said earlier, the bus stop requirements have changed. Bus stops now need to be longer and the tapers leading in and out need to be longer. If we didn't do any changes to Harewood Road and the cycleway wasn't installed, we'd still need to remove around 20% of the parks along the road to provide the latest requirements for bus stops, improve intersection sightlines, and improve sightlines at pedestrian crossings. So anything above that 20% is what has been removed for the cycleway. So the parking surveys that we've undertaken show that there's a reasonably low demand for on-street parking, except at the key locations. So there's a high demand at the Copenhagen, at the dairies, where there's a high turnover, and then down at the eastern end with the mall, Papanui High, and the rest homes. The parking survey has also demonstrated that there's spare capacity along Harewood Road to accommodate the displaced parking. So while you can't park outside your house, you'll be able to park at the house next down. The road's not fully parked out. At those areas of high parking demand, so at the likes of Copenhagen Bakery, there won't be enough parking, and that displaced parking will be pushed into side streets. So Trafford Street, Breens and Gardners. And there is spare capacity in those streets for people to park away further. Now, to help manage the high parking demand at those key locations, we're implementing parking restrictions. So outside a dairy, where you have people that want to stop quickly, run in, pick up something, P5 parking. Outside the Copenhagen Bakery, directly outside, P10 parking. And down at the Wesley Care, Golden Age and Chapel, we're providing P120 and P180 parking. So that discourages all-day parking. And initially we had P120 parking, but talking with the rest homes and with the church, they felt that it's just not long enough for an elderly person to go and visit another elderly person. 2 hours is quite constrained. So we've pushed that up to the P180 in response to their feedback. So what are the concepts that we considered? So the preferred design, which is this 3D visualization, it's the safest facility type for a road catering for the volume of traffic that it does. It's the most intuitive for riders, you're riding with traffic, and most intuitive for drivers. It has an even parking distribution, so it's parking on both sides of the road. It doesn't restrict any side road access. It has the best connectivity for riders, and it removes a traffic lane. And removing that traffic lane reduces the speed, so it's improving safety for all users. It does have the highest parking removal though. Now the one-way option, we can only provide that up to the Bishopdale roundabout. After the roundabout, we need to look at how to connect into the two-way east of Greers Road. And the best way to connect from the roundabout to the two-way east of Greers Road is with a two-way on the north side of Harewood Road. This provides the best transition between the two, and it has the minimum impact on the Greers Road intersection. So we did consider running the one-ways through this section and crossing over at Greers Road, but the additional time to cross the riders was causing a lot of traffic congestion at Greers. We also looked at signals either side of the Greers Road intersection, but again, it was causing a lot of delay to Harewood Road traffic. And as a final option we considered for this section, it was one-ways either side of the central median, which had a much higher parking supply for the residents there, but we couldn't get it across the Greers intersection due to capacity constraints for traffic. So this two-way on the north side is the best compromise to link the roundabout to the two-way east of Greers. It does have the contraflow riding, so a slightly lower level of safety for riders that are riding against the traffic. And it does have no parking on the north side of the central median. Now, we've had strong feedback from the residents in this section saying there's no parking outside our properties. And we have looked at options to try and provide that parking, but we can't get through the Greers intersection without causing excessive delay. So what does that look like in plan view? Just to summarise what I've talked about. One-ways from Nunweek Boulevard through to the roundabout. And then we needed to consider how to link the roundabout to the two-way here, east of Greers Road. And the best way to achieve that is with a two-way on the north side. Now what that two-way does is it provides a consistent facility type from the roundabout all the way through to Chapel Street. So continuing with the concepts considered, we had adjacent the central median, which is one of the options we considered for that roundabout to Greers section. It has a minimal impact on on-street parking, so it provides a good amount of parking. And it has a good rider level of service once you're on the facility. But looking at the full length of Harewood Road in that central section, it requires the closure of U-turn pockets, and it requires the restriction of the side roads of Trafford, Laycroft and Cotswold to be left in, left out. So while it's a viable option, it's not preferred because of the restrictions to traffic movements. A two-way cycleway in the central median. Initially, we'd based this on what you see along Linwood Ave. The difference with Linwood Ave is that central median is 30 metres wide, and this is 4.6 metres wide, so it wasn't possible to retain the trees and have a cycleway. So it removes all the trees through this section, and it retains 4 lanes, which has the high speed issue. So it's unsafe for riders. It also closes the U-turn pockets and restricts the side roads to left in, left out. A shared path on either side of the road in the berms. A lot of feedback again from the public on this, saying why don't you just remove the berms and seal it. It retains the 4-lane section still, which has the speed issue, which is a safety concern, and this does not meet MCR design requirements. So you can see the blue car in the left of the screen, the left of the visualisation, and the rider on the footpath. A vehicle coming out of their driveway, they will not be able to see a rider on the path, particularly when there's a high fence. It's difficult enough now with pedestrians and scooter users without adding riders there. So it's a significant risk to people riding. And with the elderly, the conflict between riders and elderly people has a poor outcome. So it's unsafe for the elderly. The road swap for the main road on the north side of Harewood Road. This has a benefit of providing a low-speed access road next to the Charity Hospital, Copenhagen Bakery, and it would be a 30 km/h road. And adjacent to that would be the two-way cycleway. It would be a pleasant facility to ride on with a reasonably good level of service. It removes not that many car parks, so it's a good balance for car park removal. However, it has quite a high impact on the residents on the north side of Harewood Road. So they're now going to have double the volume of traffic outside their properties, and safety issues associated with the indented parking restricting sight lines exiting the driveways. So a person exiting the driveway with a vehicle parked there would need to nose their vehicle into the live traffic lane. It's also expensive. It's in the order of $2.5 to $3 million more expensive than the consulted design to provide this. A two-way on the north side. And that was considered, this is the option that we have provided from the roundabout through to Greers Road over that short block. But along the full length of the road, while it offers a good level of service for people riding the full length, it does have a lower level of safety for contraflow riders. And so it requires the side roads to be restricted to left in, left out. So that's Crofton and Cotswold would be left in, left out. The other thing is that it doesn't have any parking on the north side of the central median. And we've already seen from the public between the roundabout and Greers Road, there's strong pushback about having no parking on their side of the road. So we'd expect there'd be strong opposition from people on the north side of Harewood Road that they no longer had any parking. So that's not favoured due to the turn restrictions and the inequitable parking distribution. Just considering for the Nunweek Boulevard to Greers Road section, so the full central section, if we compare one-way each side versus two-way on the north side, the one-way each side is the safest for riders and it's the best connected for riders. A two-way on the north side is less safe for contraflow riders, and it requires the riders on the other side of the road to cross over a traffic lane or ride on a short section of the footpath. The one-way removes 50% of the parking, and the two-way removes 20%. However, that parking that is retained in the two-way, 100% of it is removed on the north side. So anybody on the north side, if they have to park on the street, park on the south side of the median and need to cross over a traffic lane and a two-way cycleway. It also requires the restriction of Crofton and Cotswold to left and left out. A one-way doesn't have any side road restriction, and it's the most intuitive for all users. So what are the key changes that we have made in the central section? So down by the Trafford Street shops, we've swapped over the bus stop and the P5 parking, and that's working with the shops on the corner here and having that P5 closer to where the business is. Around the Copenhagen block, there's been a number of changes made through this section, but we had 3 meetings with the bakery, discussing what the impacts would be and how they operate at the moment and how we could improve that. We've managed to provide an additional 7 parks within this block, and they're shown as the light blue. The parks over this northern side here, they're by creating a clear zone. So there'd be no parking there during the evening peak period when there's a high traffic volume, but other times of the day they'll be available. And there's been a provision of a pedestrian cut through the island, linking through to Charnwood Crescent. Now at the bakery, there's been a number of changes to their access way, the parking outside the bakery, and that's to help mitigate some of the operational concerns that they currently have. And that's best seen in this 3D pictorial. So the Copenhagen Bakery is the site on the left of screen. We've moved the access way. And by moving the access way to the east, it provides an additional park outside the bakery, but it also mitigates one of their concerns of the off-street car park. The off-street car park is currently quite difficult to get into, and it's very narrow and congested. So this opens up their off-street parks and makes it easier to get into those. They also provided feedback that there's queues building from the access way of people trying to get into the car park onto Harewood Road at the moment, and it blocks one of the through lanes. So by moving the access way, it allows vehicles to queue on the access way and over the adjacent access way. So 2 vehicles to queue out of the through road, the through stream on Harewood Road. We've indented the parking. People going to the bakery find it difficult to open up their car door into the live traffic lane. So by narrowing the cycleway, it allows the car parking to be moved over and provide a door swing area for people to get in and out of their vehicles. And these 4 car parks would be P10, so short stay, high turnover. And as part of providing that indented parking, we'd lift the cycleway next to it up to footpath level, so it removes the potential trip hazard for people running in to grab their goods. East of the access way would widen the separator and narrow the cycleway. Narrowing the cycleway encourages riders to go in single file and not overtake each other, and widening the separator creates a larger area for more the elderly people to stand and manoeuvre and hop in and out of their vehicle. And finally, the planter boxes. So we've taken the vegetation that's within the Copenhagen site and put it into planter boxes and moved it into road reserve. And what that allows the bakery to do is provide additional manoeuvring for their off-road car parks. It brings them up to the current minimum standards. So at the moment, people aren't using that car park because it's difficult to get into it and it's difficult to manoeuvre once you're in it. The combination of moving the access way and moving the planter boxes means that car park is easier to use and more people will use the off-road park. Outside Charity Hospital, through this block, we've met with Charity Hospital and they've provided some excellent feedback, and we've made a number of changes to the design that helps address what their concerns are. And one of them is to lift up the cycleway similar to outside Copenhagen Bakery to remove the trip hazard of the separator. And the other is to make some changes to their driveways and provide an additional pedestrian crossing point through the central median. So again, with the rendering, we've got the Charity Hospital on the left-hand side, indent the parking and raise up the cycleway to remove the trip hazard. Minor changes to the access ways. The access ways were always going to be open, but we've modified them slightly to allow for the delivery of gas. Down at Bishopdale Park, we've extended a shared path around the corner onto Laycroft Street where the gates into the park are. And this links into the children's play area and provided some bike stands. And then as a general note, the design of the bus stops has changed. So Council and ECAN, we're always working together to improve bus stops and the provision of them. And where we're leading to at the moment is to narrow the cycleways through bus stops to encourage that single lane operation and slow the speed of the rider, but also to create a larger area for mobility impaired people to get on and off the bus. And the review of these design standards, it's ongoing. To the roundabout, a majority of the trees are retained. Potentially no trees will be removed, maybe 3. On Highstead Road, the splitter island's been shortened to cater for the right turn out of Caltex. And there's been a shared path provided on the eastern side of Farrington to provide a crossing over in the splitter island. So there's quite a long section to get through, and
I forgot to call a 20-minute break too, but I thought we were on a bit of a roll there. You know, it's interesting. I mean, obviously I've been aware of a number of the questions and been to see some of the people, but yeah, it's good. Aaron?
Got some. Some of them go back about 30 slides, but there was the one where you had like the heat map for lanes, and it had like Papanui Road, Northcote Road, Harewood Road, so on and so forth. Who made that up?
Whereabouts?
let's see if we can go back to it.
Yeah, it's quite a way back.
That would have been right at the start of this section.
Yeah. There.
That there, yes.
Go forward. One more.
Oh,
So.
that one there. Yep.
Yeah, on there, you've got Papanui Road runs at 70% capacity, yet at peak time, that's walking speed. That would say it's beyond capacity because the traffic's not flowing. The traffic is congesting and having a negative impact on the environment. So how's that not in the red?
Yeah.
Because most people in Christchurch would tell you that's a shit road to take at peak time.
It is a shocker to drive along, and I try and avoid it.
Put that so much
But
better
you've
than
hit on a
Aaron.
really key point. So this is looking at the road between intersections. And what it's demonstrating is that road by itself, the ability of that road to cater for the flow of traffic.
Right. So
It's
not based on the real road. That's if there's no
No, that's it.
intersection.
That's the real road. It's getting up towards 70% of your capacity is being used. But what you're seeing in terms of the queues and everyone sitting there and not being able to move is not because of the lane in the middle. It's because of the signals. It's because you get round to Northlands Mall and people crawl around past there to the top end of Cranford Street and then it starts flowing again. So it's the design of the signals and the ability to get the traffic through the signals that's limiting the movement, not the number of lanes in the middle.
Okay, so there's probably no one in the city that's going to agree with this. And then, as in that graph there, because they'll just look at some of those streets at those peak times and go, that's congestion.
What you think
Is it
you're
the
looking
red?
at sounds like it's different from what it's set to describe. So, because it's based on sections of road.
Not reality, I know. I can see that.
No. Maybe.
Well, at 5...
Do we want numbers?
It's not... Well...
I mean, I'm trying.
Okay, then.
I'm trying to give Aaron what he's asking for. This is not what he's asking for.
So, yeah, I'll spread misinformation.
No, it's demonstrating.
But the public will believe it because they drive the road.
Sorry, Aaron. I'm trying to help. So what you're asking for
It's
is
common practice at this
a
table.
demonstration of the capacity of the roads and the impact of numbers on roads at particular times. Yeah. But
Because,
is that what you want?
well, no, because he gave us the street where they've done the lane reduction. So Key Street in Auckland. So the 1.8 kilometre stretch that's reduced from 2 lanes to 1 had a travel time of 5 to 6 minutes, is now 13. That's a terrible impact on the environment because cars are there twice as long with their engines going.
On Key Street.
Key Street, yep. 5 to 6 minutes was the original travel time for 1.8 kilometres. It's now 13. That's not a good outcome.
I think the comment you made earlier about Auckland reducing the capacity of some roads to force people to use different modes of transport could apply to that. What we have done for this route here is based on modelling, and that is modelling that is used for any large roading changes within the city or developments within the city. It is evaluated what the impact of removing a traffic lane would be.
Right. And then you gave us those numbers. So it was between 20 and 40 seconds would be the increased travel time on Herwood Road, which doesn't sound like much, but 18,000 vehicles, that's 9,000 minutes a day of burning carbon that we are going to add to the system by doing this.
And councillor, and getting people and getting 3 or 4 or 5 of those people that choose to take a trip each day to choose to take their bike will put even less carbon into the thing. So there's a balancing act. The team are trying to show you the balancing act across what they're doing and the decisions that they've made. The feedback we had from the community was this is going from 2 lanes to 1 lane is going to cause congestion. What we're saying is there's enough room to put the traffic on the road in 1 lane, but there's 2 functions. But there's 2 functions in a road. There's the space in the lane, and then there's how the signals work. So we've got to balance that together. This is one part of that story, and then the second part is the next slide, which talks about how long it takes to get through there.
But
But
our
it's also a
action
safety issue, because we know that this
Yes.
road is travelling on average 5 kilometres an hour above the
Yeah,
speed
and
limit.
the accident rate on those sections is, it's key some intersections.
And if you have an accident going at 60 k's an hour, you are more likely to have a fatal or a serious accident, and the person that you hit is more likely to be fatally or seriously hit than if you do that at 50 or even below 50. So this is balancing all of the needs across all of this, taking into account what we're trying to achieve for climate change. I get that, but it's not just about having traffic moving. If we make bigger, faster roads, we get more traffic. We've talked about that before. If
It's not true.
we
Petrol's
throttle roads
$2.50 a
down,
litre.
and if we throttle roads, we probably have to philosophically agree to disagree on that one. If we throttle roads down, they do go slower. They are safer to people. People move. They move slower, so they take them longer to do their journey, but they move more consistently. They are going slower. Those roads are easier to get across from a pedestrian perspective. They are easier you get more connectivity across it. There's all of those sort of things. So it's a balancing act going through a community.
Another consideration in terms of the emissions from vehicles and the additional travel time is that our vehicle fleet's changing. It is currently 10 to 12 years old, but there is a big incentive for people to get into more environmentally friendly vehicles, more electric vehicles, which have a lower impact when they're being used, or hybrid vehicles. In terms of the overall economic evaluation, the change in the additional delay to the vehicles is outweighed by the benefits of having more people in active transport.
Well, it'd be good to see that evidence, because 9,000 extra minutes would not suggest that. So it'd be like, it's purely a numbers game. It is. So that's what we need to see. And it's the same with the safety improvements. When there's accidents on key roads, because there's others, and safety's been ignored on this road at one key intersection, which thousands of people from the area have asked for an upgrade for decades and have been ignored based on safety.
Are we?
Well, the whole thing's
look,
a
I'm
debate,
trying to be helpful in terms of this. It's a briefing. It's as much to assist members of the panel as it is to assist the public in engaging in the hearings that we are going to conduct probably in the new year now, is it? So,
Yes, it is.
and there's a substantial period of community engagement so that the public can see how their submissions have been listened to and what changes have been made to the design as a result. I know people who will be very happy to hear about the trees in the roundabout. I don't feel so fussed about the gums myself, but others do. And so that will come as good news. I actually love the flow of that new intersection, because I'm not used to living there now, and it certainly wasn't like that when I was a kid. But it's the most scary roundabout that I ever have to confront, because it's counterintuitive. You've got to switch from one lane to another, or else you end up in the wrong lane to be where you want to be, and it's horrible. I do avoid it. But and with lights, a lighting system that is genuinely used by people who are turning up to use it, rather than these ghost bikes that you see in town sometimes. I think that would go down quite well. So we've got to hear people's submissions after they've got the feedback. So I think we don't need to debate the issues right now. We're just going through listening to all of the different changes that are being proposed. Jason, you've got your hand up.
Thank you. Maybe a comment and a couple of questions around the Copenhagen stuff. So I kind of see where Aaron's coming from, the fact that, the perception that residents may have just around what Papanui Road is like in comparison to that particular graph and then how that compares to the changes on here. Or it may just be that perception, and maybe that's not the best graphic to potentially roll out if everyone's going to disagree with it, regardless of the accuracy.
Yeah.
And then the other 2 points were, and I like the improvements around Copenhagen definitely seem like good compared to the initial design. But I was just wondering, you did say that you just had quite a few conversations with them around potential other options. Have they seen, or have they given you any feedback on this, what you've put forward to us at this point? Have they seen this yet and given you any comms?
Yes, they have. So we've presented some other options to the bakery, and their preference initially is to not have a cycleway, and then if there is a cycleway, it's the one that has the most parking. So it removes the less on-street parking for them, and that's also recognising what the impacts their business has on the neighbouring properties. But they have also been very complimentary of the changes that we've made and the process that we're going through with them in the meetings, and improving the operation of their current car park layout, and hearing what their concerns are and responding to those, and going back and meeting with them and saying, here's what we've heard, here's what we've changed, how does that work for you now?
They also weren't in favour of signalising the intersection either, so we just need to put that in context as well. So there's been multiple issues. It's not just about the cycleway, it's also about the signalisation of the intersection from their perspective.
Okay, great, thank you. And then the second follow-up with those ones is how many, well, so it's two-part. First one was, if you had the cycleway on the northern section of that particular part of the road, how much overall parking would be lost compared to the one lane on each side with your improvements? And then the supplementary to that was how many parks would be lost with your current design compared to if it was on the north side. That may be easier to break up into a couple of questions and answer one at a time, actually, but see how you get on.
Yeah, so through the central section, the amended scheme removes 48% of the parks, so it removes 135 parks. A two-way on the north side would remove 20% of the park, so it'd remove 54 parks. But the numbers in themselves, while there are less parks removed from a two-way, the parking surveys are showing that there's a very low parking demand on Harewood Road, apart from the hot spots around the likes of Copenhagen Bakery. And the distribution of that parking, with the two-way having no parking on the north side of the median, I think would get quite a public pushback on that, given what we've observed between Greers Road and the roundabout.
Okay. And then just the second part of that was, so how with your amended design, how many parks have been lost from Copenhagen, outside of Copenhagen, as compared to what just the current state of affairs are right now?
So outside Copenhagen at the moment, there are, well, in the Trafford to Breens block, so Copenhagen about 100 metres either side, there are 28 existing spaces, and with the revised design there are 17 spaces, so it removes 11 on the south side of the road.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mike.
How many of those, Ollie?
Oh.
Sorry, how many of those are gone because of the cycleway, and how many are gone because of the intersection?
So out of that 11 removed, 5 of them are removed for the intersection. So 6 removed for the cycleway.
Thanks.
Okay, so it's quite a good improvement. Thank you.
Mike.
Thank you. A couple of questions. So currently down that stretch by Copenhagen, how many of those car parks are got time restrictions on them for the bakery?
Currently none.
Okay. How many did we propose to do around?
So we've got the 4 P10s immediately outside,
Yep.
And there are some P60s just further down from that and across the road on the other side.
So we've increased the actual time restricted ones because I think there's 13 when we consulted from memory.
Yeah, that's right. So we have the additional parking spaces that we've added in. Most of them fall within the P10 and the P60 restrictions.
Okay, so we've gone from 13 to
1, 2, 3, 6 on the northern side within the time restriction, and on the southern side we've got 5, 9, 12 on the southern side.
Cool, thank you. Are we looking in through the design to install cycle stands for the bakery?
Yes, they're included.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have, working with the bakery, they've asked us to, on their behalf, have a look to see if we can provide a charging station for e-bikes,
Excellent.
which we're investigating.
Thank you. And how many changes from what we went out and consulted on? How many changes have been made to the for the whole design actually?
Around 65 sort of changes of note, and then quite a number of sort of smaller tweaks that may not be apparent to people, but yeah, around 65 changes.
Thank you.
At the information sessions, there will be drawings that will highlight each of the sheets and what the changes have been made out of those 65 changes on each sheet.
Okay, thank you.
Can we go to the charity hospital slide? So I think I have it in my head, the issue around the very large delivery truck for the gas bottles. And the issue was the use of the extra lane to provide for that swing into. I think they literally had to get one of their people out of the truck to stop the traffic. So how's that working now?
Yeah, there's a few options for it, but it can still work in a similar fashion that the truck pulls over, comes up the road and actually pulls in to the right, then reverses back into the access way. It may have a chance to pull in nose first as well, but it's effectively going to work reasonably similarly to how it did previously. We're also widening out the driveway going into the hospital,
Right.
And they may choose to widen their gates to match that, which will give the truck more options for turning in nose first as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it'd be worse to back out though, wouldn't it? There's no.
There
route round.
is. It's sort of marginal if it would get round. I think it would have a chance of getting round internally,
Right.
but it will be tight.
Right. Okay.
It's a very, very large truck.
But you're continuing to work with them
Yeah.
on that.
Yep.
But this option allows them to do what they have been doing up until now, even with one lane.
Yep. Correct.
Yep. Okay.
And the feedback from the charity hospital CEO was that they are very happy with the changes that have been made
Right.
and the ongoing discussions that we'll have around that.
Okay. Any more on the central section? Okay. Right. Okay. So we move on to.
So,
Sorry. Well, it's 4:48. We're almost done. Yeah. And literally, we've got we've
slides.
We've got a brief summary, and we've got the process from here. That's it.
Okay, look.